Greetings, fellow survivors. Rodamont here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Darkswitch. If you would like to skip the game's overview, please use YouTube chapters. Darkswitch is a survival city builder where the heart of your city is built into a great tree, and you have to adapt to a hostile environment and defend your city against the fog. Face challenges of limited real estate, poor buildings, scarce resources, and tough moral choices as you seek to uncover the mystery of the Veil. Darkswitch feels like a spiritual successor of the original Frostpunk, where you are pitted against the looming specter of societal collapse. Let's jump right into it. I'll be leaving the tutorials on so you can follow along. Years ago, violent shroud surgers began ravaging our world. They overwhelmed and engulfed everything in their path, and with the fog came horrors beyond comprehension. That is why, by the personal decree of Archon Valfidus, we founded the settlement we call Eleron. Here we conduct vital research and study the shroud's nature, to uncover its secrets and to forge weapons against this unrelenting threat. And yes, the aesthetic is very like reinvented Dark Elf or something. It's interesting. I dig it a lot. This game has been a lot of fun to play in preparation for the stream, and I suspect it's going to have a lot of interest. Welcome to Darkswitch. To make your journey through the lands and air currents of Nalai not only interesting, but also comfortable, we have prepared descriptions of important elements of the game's interface for you. Would you like to go through that tutorial? Yes. The main menu can be opened up by pressing the button on the top right, or hitting the escape key. Citizens Indicator is down here, right next to me, over that way. And you have the total amount of citizens, and then you have how many are unassigned to tasks, so 55 and 55. We have also got the camera mode. So there's a camera mode that rotates around the Great World Tree, and a camera mode that like pans around the map, because you build in both spots. Up top, you have the time controls. Work shifts are divided into like a day shift and a night shift, and you can have both shifts or work 24-hour shifts if you have like half the workers. You shouldn't do that though. Resource panel at the top has wood, which is the primary resource, but also secondary resources like iron, gas, solar, steel, crystal, etc. Toilers, Chief Mathan. Messer, the messenger bird has brought ill tidings. The Bureau of Sarago write that food shipments will cease. Furthermore, they demand a report on our activities here. So just put this in a lore perspective. As the intro said, this settlement here is kind of like a research facility, more or less, into the fog that is encompassing the world and kind of like destroying society. So just, that's some context. So, Archon Valfidus is losing power. What about our supplies? We have enough food for 3 days, but there are mushrooms above the platform of the Great Tree. It's not the healthiest food, but since we don't have anything better, go collect it. Okay. So to fill in a little bit more of the UI, some of the alerts is up here, like buildings with no workers, or homeless, or physically ill. And there's going to be a lot of physically ill, especially early on in the game. Some of the other icons down here is obviously building controls. And just to fill you in on the world, this is I call it a world tree, but there's many other world trees. So as you can see in the background, there's other trees, but of course this one's ours. And on this tree is built like ladders, spiral staircases, pathways, etc. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting workers to gather the mushrooms. I know the UI is rather small, so I'll read it out for you. So if we click right here, This is a mushroom patch. And if we hit maximum right here, it will schedule the maximum amount of collectors for those mushrooms for a day shift. And then in the night shift, if we do the same thing, we'll schedule workers for the night shift as well. There's 3 types of workers. And the different types of workers are good at different things. So you have like laborers, toilers, and God, what is the last group called? But regardless, the laborers are the ones that like collect mushrooms really good. Additionally, there's another mushroom patch down here. So I'm going to queue up workers to... Oh, I just went through a whole bunch of the tutorial accidentally. But here's shift efficiency. So how many workers you have, if there's production bonuses, etc., etc. And then, oh, here we go. Classes of citizens, toilers, artisans, and rangers. Got it. So artisans is the rightmost, rangers is the middle, and rangers are good at like scouting, and combat, sort of. And then artisans are really good at crafting. They're the types of people that are going to work in like sawmills and cookhouses, and laborers are just like basic resource collectors. The mushrooms are a renewable resource, so they're not going to run out, but they won't they won't provide enough food for a growing society. So it's kind of infinite, but low yield. And there we go. So now we have just sent a bunch of the toilers to go collect mushrooms. Now I'm going to get a little ahead of the tutorial here. There are stacks of wood on the main platform, and I'm going to have the toilers also collect that as well. So of all types of tasks, you have someone that is suited for it. So this is a really good case of this. The production here for this stack, and let me hide the UI again, is 2.8 wood every hour. And here is 3.1 every hour. And the difference is who's working there. So because we have citizens that are most suited to the jobs working in all but the last stack of wood, their yields are higher. And then every type of job has like an ideal, a neutral, and a negative candidate. So the rangers are really bad at collecting wood, and the artisans are okay at it, and the toilers are really good at it. So their overarching goal is to make Elrond a self-sufficient settlement because our supplies are getting cut off from the capital. Basically, whatever is happening to the world that we're here to research has caused a cascading effect on supply and logistics, and we can no longer rely upon the capital send us aid. That would be the long and short of it. So let's use time controls and speed up the collection of food from the mushroom patch. And as you can see, most of the citizens here are just like standing around and doing not much at all, and that's because they don't have jobs just yet. We'll be following along the tutorial, so I don't want to get ahead of it. These mushrooms taste like feet, and they smell of old garbage. No wonder so many workers got sick after eating them. Let's boil them. Boiling will break down the poison. They won't taste any better, but at least they'll be safe. Build menu. The build menu will allow you to build new buildings in the settlement by clicking on the hammer button. You will see the building categories available to you. You can build a kitchen by selecting the leftmost category, food. When you hover over an image of a building, you'll see its description and price, as well as to find out what surface it could be built on. A kitchen can be built anywhere, but now it is worth building on a trunk. When you select a building to build on the trunk, you will see a translucent silhouette, and the surface of the trunk will display the area available for construction. Hover over the area you like. If the building can be built, the silhouette will turn green, otherwise it will remain red. If you don't have enough resources, it will still remain red. By selecting a suitable location and clicking the left mouse button, you'll begin constructing the building. When the builders have finished the work, they'll be ready to go. Okay, so we want to build a cookery. This thing. So here is the build menu. As you can see, there is a grid-like structure on the on the tree. And I'm going to build the cookery right here. Just above the mushrooms. That's where I'm going to choose. And then workers will be dispatched out. Clicking this button will cancel it, of course. And refund. And now the spiral staircases have changed their configuration to accommodate this building. So the pathways, walkways, and spiral staircases are made automatically, and you don't really have to figure them out yourself. Now at the top of the screen, if you're wondering, we have 16 raw food and 45 rations. Rations are essentially meals. You can eat raw food, but it's less efficient, and there's the whole, like, getting poisoned. So now, we go to the cookery, and here, as you can see in the assignment categories, the artisans are ideal. So, I'm going to hide this again. So if we wanted to add one artisan, we could click the button on it, or we can add a ranger. We can remove the ranger like this by clicking on it. So you can assign the populace that you want to work in a facility, or just hit maximum and let the game auto-assign. And in most cases, I'll just be hitting maximum unless there's something specific I'm trying to aim for. So now we have 8 artisans, 4 in the day shift, 4 in the night shift, trying to make rations out of the boiled mushrooms. And I'm going to speed up time so we produce rations at the cookery. And if we zoom all the way in, you can see the workers harvesting the mushrooms on the trunk of the tree. And we will exhaust the finite resource, but then it will regrow over time. Our wood stocks are quickly getting low. We can't keep this up, or we're going to run out of it completely. We have no choice but to take the risk and go down to get the wood. It's dangerous. What if we suddenly run into Sarago's air patrol? Be on your guard. By the way, you can find a secluded spot near the lake to build a fisherman's shed. After all, we can't live on mushrooms alone. So the next thing we want to do is to form a scouting squad. Around your tree, you will see these like blue pillars of light, and these are interaction spots for scouting parties. So we click on the scout base. We can click this button here. That is again being hidden by the overlay. Hit this button here to create a squad of scouts, which will use 5 rangers from our settlement, and they will be employed as scouts, and then also 5 rations. Sending scouts. Scouts are different from other working residents. You assemble a squad once, after which you can send them on various missions as many times as you want until something bad happens to the scouts. You know, like them getting killed or whatever. Scouts are not assigned to a shift, but like other residents, they live according to this schedule, so they do work, sleep, etc. Send your rations and assemble a squad of scouts by clicking the plus button that I just did. Points of interest. So as I just mentioned, there will be points of interest all over the map, and you can scout them. Now there is travel time. So the further the point of interest is from the scout hub, the longer it will take. So a point of interest over here will take a shorter amount of time than a point of interest over here because the scouts are actually in the base. They physically depart from this spot. In fact, you'll be able to actually physically see them in the scout base as they are preparing to leave, and they'll be ready to leave in 21 seconds. Now once they're ready to leave, we'll get a little pop-up at the top right for the alerts bar up here, indicating that, yep, scouts have no mission. So let's have them first go out to explore the woods. And this will take the scout group to be free, and they'll take some time to move there. And then once they move there, they'll scout the area for us. And we need to explore both locations on the map to move the tutorial forward. And here they are. You can see them in the field, actually exploring the area and mapping it for us. Now, another thing to note is it's getting to the point where the day cycle is about to be over and the night cycle will be taking over. And that happens at about, the actual work shift happens at 20 or 8 p.m. But the day-night cycle is slightly different, as you'll see here in a minute, as the sun is still setting. Okay, this area is well suited for a lumberjack's hut. If we build a warehouse nearby, labor productivity will increase. So we have found a potential area for a construction site for lumber. So if we go to the build menu, there is, in the food menu for now, there's the cookery, there is forestry huts, there's lumberjack huts and warehouses. And what it's telling us to do is to build a lumberjack hut. So I'm sure the tutorial will tell you this soon, but if you take a look at the lumberjack hut, it needs to be green first off. You can rotate with middle mouse button. And then there is also this little silhouette that you might be able to see. That white silhouette is like future upgrades to the lumberjack hut. Keeping in mind, of course, that you can move buildings in the future. So if we build a lumberjack hut here, we don't necessarily need to keep that white expansion of the lumberjack hut cleared, because we can always move the lumberjack hut. In fact, I will go so far as to say we will likely cut all the trees down the sphere of influence of this lumberjack hut before we ever upgrade it. So we don't really need to worry about that that silhouette. So I'm going to place it here. There we go. And then additionally, I'm going to build a warehouse. So warehouses allow you to store resources. After building a warehouse, you have to assign the type of resource it will store, otherwise it will remain empty. And then warehouses will have a certain limit of resources that it can collect. And this part is important. If you have a chain of warehouses, regardless of the resources they collect, and I'll explain this in a little bit greater detail in a minute, you will get a production bonus if the chain of warehouses connect to the council chamber. So what that means is, let's say we are fishing on this pond and we have a warehouse for the fish here, and then we're cutting down these trees. Imagine there are more trees here. And we have a warehouse here for trees. The warehouse for the fish connects to the warehouse for the trees, which will connect to the council hall. So it doesn't have to be all warehouses of the same type of stored good, just as long as you have a chain of warehouses that lead back to the heart of your city, you will gain the bonus. And then this is the warehouse we want to build. And as you can see, it has a sphere of influence where it will offer up a production bonus for the facility that you're building it at. And then additionally, if you can see here, there is a spiral staircase and then a raised walkway all the way to where the lumberjack hut's going to go. And as you can see here, the warehouse will snap connect to that walkway. So I'm going to build the warehouse here. The fall of the Ignalis, or Ignalis. 3 red signals from the northeast. That means the neighboring outpost, Ignalis, has fallen. There's no way to help them now. The ruins where Ignalis is located is a 5-day journey away. Even if we send rangers, after marching through fog teeming with shroud creatures and ancient relics, they'll need their own help. Elrond has a mission, and completing it is paramount. And this is the smaller silhouette expansions that I was just referencing. Perhaps someone from Ignalis has survived. We must accept the survivors if they reach us. Are you going to accept them? You know what the shroud does to people. Do you want crazed refugees to burn half of Elrond to the ground? We'll help them as long as it doesn't hinder our research. And we ourselves can't sleep in tents anymore. We need to build proper houses. Or maybe we should just cut it down. Before you proceed, maiden, remember, cutting the flesh of the great tree is not only sacrilege, but also a crime. Though Sarago is far, Messer will never allow it. Yes, precisely. The great tree generates solar. Therefore, I forbid anyone from laying an axe on it without the craftsman's supervision. I will not tolerate such barbarism. Fell the trees on the ground. So we're going to be cutting down trees on the ground in order to build forest houses. So now we have a lot of missions here. We need to explore the 2 locations, and the scouts team just finished what they were doing, so I'll dispatch them to the new location. Keeping in mind, of course, that we just consumed 5 more rations to dispatch them. But here, as you can see, the path that they'll take, and this one will be shorter because they're closer to it. We need to build a lumberjack hut, a warehouse, and assign the stored resource to the warehouse. And then gather wood from stacks of the forest up to 50, and then build 4 more houses. So that's currently in the plans. And some of the stacks of wood up here are basically exhausted. Obviously, this is just like stockpiled supplies. So we've already collected, you know, most of that stack, most of that stack, and most of this stack. So we're going to need to gather wood in the forest below. All right. Residents get to their places of work on foot. Until they reach a building, they do not participate in its work. A building's efficiency doesn't take in account the time spent commuting, so it can vary greatly. If you build houses and kitchens where people work and eat near remote workplaces, you will significantly increase the output of those buildings. And you can configure the loot zone by a building by clicking the corresponding button on its window. Don't forget, it takes longer to commute. So if we wanted to change the workspace of this lumberjack hut to be like a forest over here, its efficiency would suck, essentially. And like, I mean, that makes sense. But you can always set the mining area. So in this case, I'm going to set the mining area, rather than here, I'm going to set it back a little bit. So we cut all the trees closest to the great tree first. And then let's go ahead and, in this case, we don't have toilers, which are ideal for lumber mill workers. And that is actually more important work than the other work we've got going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire the toilers from the other collection sites and instead put craftsmen in so that the toilers can be our lumberjacks, because the toilers are better lumberjacks, and then the rangers are going to fill in those roles as well. And then down here in this mushroom collection, I will fire some toilers to put them in as lumberjacks as well, because wood is going to be just that important. And there we go. Now all the job sites are, we have everyone hired. We only have 2 free workers at the moment. So this warehouse here is going to be set to contain wood. And you can see the town hall is close, which is a bonus for logistics. But it doesn't have an automatic connection to the town hall. That will come in later. Scouts report that the lakeshore is gently sloping and the soil is not swampy. We can build a fisherman's shed on it. Fisherman's shed can only be built on the bank of the river. Otherwise, fishermen will not be able to reach these shoals of fish. Construct this building, drag its model across the highlighted surface until it turns green. So I don't have enough wood for the fisherman's shed, but it will be placed here. So that's also something to buy, or to build rather, soon. Cheers. And here, as you can see, the workers collecting mushrooms on the lower half. And it's not a very efficient way to get your food. Fishing is more efficient. So we're going to want to move away from that soon. Now, the game did say that long commute times is in your not in your benefit. So with that in mind, I am going to build houses down on the surface. And houses down on the surface come with their own set of risks. But I think it's personally worth it. Because real estate on the tree is pretty limited. So I just queued 2 more houses to be built. And we have 3 houses here, 1, 2, and 3. So not everyone is unhoused. Only 31 out of 55. And here you can very visibly see the fog. This is not good fog. We're not talking about happy rolling fog of that is enjoyable or anything like that. This is a deadly fog. Fog that kills you. There's one house, and inside you can see the people that live there. So we got 8 residents per house. And what I'm hoping is that the people that live in this house are the ones working closest to the lumberjack to increase the efficiency of that lumberjack. But our fishing spot is now completely fogged over. So we wouldn't even be able to build the fishing shed right now anyway. Hey Mal, thank you for the resub. And Togador too. I missed that. And Glitch for the cheer. Cheers. My Ethnarch. A Skywalker from Sarago dropped signal fires on the ground before departing. What for? Turn around not far from the Great Tree and never reached us. That's probably how the captain marked where he had left something for us. I'll send some rangers to check it out. If you're wondering, your rangers can weather the fog, so I can send them out through fog. They might suffer some consequences, but not in this, like, distance. This should be just fine for them. And, Doc Genko, thank you for the resub, too. Alright, it's almost morning. Once that moon symbol goes all the way up. Now above that is also fear. Your citizens are fearful, and this is a very similar game mechanic that like Frostpunk has, where they will lose confidence in you when things are going wrong. And of course you're going to be stuck making some tricky choices to that end. Alright, daybreak came. The fog mostly lifted. There is still some fog creeping on the horizon, but it's receded considerably. And the drop site was a supply shipment. And there's a note wishing us success. So there's steel, rations, wooden planks, gasoline, and solar. Advanced resources. You've received a shipment of valuable steel. Steel is an advanced resource that can replace iron at a 1-to-1 ratio. Advanced resources are typically refined from basic resources at a 2-to-1 ratio, making them much more efficient. Another key advantage is that each resource has its own storage limit, meaning that you can stockpile 100 iron and 100 steel without building additional warehouses. Alright, so let's go ahead and get that fisherman's hut. Additionally, for the fisherman's hut, I'm going to probably want a warehouse adjacent to it, but we don't really have the wood for that just yet. But here is the auto path for the fisherman's hut being constructed. planning on building one more forest house down here. And then we'll have another forest house roughly where the fisher hut is. But I should save up wood for a warehouse. No, I actually have enough. Perfect. I am going to build a warehouse. That will work. And this will be for the fish that we catch. The scouting party has returned. I can disband the scouting party, but to form a scouting party does cost rations, so it's probably best to just have them idle and do nothing for now, because there's almost always stuff to scout. You get a lot of scouting opportunities, so it shouldn't be much of a problem to leave them idling as scouts for now. And then we're going to build another forest house over here for the fishermen that live and work in that area. So we have one more house to build, one more fisherman shed to build, and we have all that queued up and allotted the resources for it. So it won't be long until those quests are marked as complete. Great news! We now have fish. Don't forget to build a warehouse next to the fisherman's shed. A warehouse for fish? Terrible idea. The smell will attract all the guzzlers in the area. All the guzzles in the area. Take it easy, folks. We'll put the warehouse on the bottom of the platform. We've been talking about expanding that spot for ages. We've got the materials to do it. Choosing a building. Different buildings can be built on different surfaces. On the trunk of the tree, on the surface of the platform. Some buildings can only be built on a platform. To create a platform, select the main building of the settlement chamber. So here we go. We've got the chamber, and then there's this platform button here. And then down here we can build. I'm going to select a platform in this location and click it. And now we're building a much larger platform infrastructure here for the warehouse for the fishermen to go. All right, another thing. The fishermen like toilers working in there, so I am going to fire all the toilers working anywhere else because fish is a more efficient resource anyway. And instead to put the toilers in here. So we now have a fully stocked fisherman shed all with toilers instead of inefficient other types of workers. And then up here, this mushroom collection site, well, you know, maybe I'll split it. There we go. So now both mushroom collection sites will have a few workers. Refugees from Ignalis. The people are barely standing on their feet. It's amazing how they overcame all this way. Nobody can really explain what occurred. Some talk about an unexpected attack by the inhabitants on each other. Others say that there were waves of fog in which entire squads vanished. Among those who came, many were wounded, but a big chunk of them were lunatics. The tied-up psychos drool, laugh wildly, and mumble random odd words. The fog has consumed their minds. We've seen this before. Here's the choice for you guys to make. Top or bottom? So, the top, let the refugees in if they need help. We'll add workers of all types to a roster. And then the bottom, the refugees will need to be driven away. They might be dangerous. We'll increase fear and not add population. This one's a bit of a no-brainer. So it looks like all of you agree. We're going to let them in. The refugees from Ignalis are climbing up the tree towards us. Some of them with tears of happiness. Some with noticeable relief. Some with unnatural indifference on their faces. If we accept them, we must provide all the conditions. We need to build the healing chambers. When a resident goes too long without food, they become hungry. If your settlement has a functioning cookery with available food, the hungry resident will automatically go eat there. If there's no food available, they will become starving, and after 24 more hours, they will die. Food types. Residents eat rations made of raw food. Their value improves as you progress. Residents can eat raw food directly, but it's an inefficient way and may cause illness. And here's the group of refugees coming in. So now we have, we had 10 refugees come in, and we have more homelessness. But the other thing about the refugees is, at least the healthy ones, I'm going to immediately put to work collecting even more food than before. Alright, this warehouse is going to store nothing, actually, right now. I'm going to purposely have it store nothing. Because they said that fish stored on the ground would attract hostile creatures. So now that the platform is built, what I'm going to do is hit the relocate button for this warehouse and relocate it here for free, which just barely overlaps the fishing hut. And what they'll do is they'll come and demolish it and move it for free. Doesn't cost anything. Alright, another thing we need to do is to build healing quarters. The healing quarters is where sick and wounded go for healing. And it's very common that your citizens will become sick and wounded. So, kind of an important thing to have. And I'm going to put it right here. So, check the time. The delay is 3 signal flares. Well, here's the thing. The people could have evacuated the city before it fell. So this could be refugees from the city before the flares went off. As if, like, you know, lifeboats get launched from a sinking ship, and then once the ship is finally about to sink, you fire the flares. I mean, just headcanon there, at least for me. Alright, so now that this has been moved, I'm going to assign fish to it. The Archon's last message states that you, Tessin, have been appointed as the leader. You better get used to making difficult decisions. Always think about what is best for the people. And there will always be those who are dissatisfied. For example, many had hoped to return home to Sarago on the next Skywalker. Now we are stuck here for a good while. I miss the times when I was just a humble researcher. Okay, now that the healing quarters are done, the artisans work in their best. So what I need to do is I need to free up a whole bunch of artisans to work instead in the healing quarter. Because healing rate is like quite important. Which means a lot fewer of them working as mushroom collectors. And let's continue to find artisans to be repurposed for down there. And then the cookery up here, the storage for rations is full. So there's no more food that can even be made for that. So I only have 17 artisans. I have 5 working in there, and then 8 in the cookery. I'm missing some. Where are they? Are they fishing? Nope. Cutting down trees? Nope. All of the surface work sites are cleared. Not really sure where they're working right now. Well, either way, I'm going to fill... So artisans are the only ones that can work in the healing quarters. So what I'm going to do, because the kitchen is full, having made rations... Yeah, they might be sick. I think that's more reasonable. I'm going to fire the artisans that were working in the kitchen. And put them in the healing quarters so that people can recover quicker. Because up here, we have 5 mentally ill that are healing, and then 4 severely physically ill. 3 that are, like, hungry, you know. We're trying to, like, work that out. All right, at this point, you can see these little lines connecting back up to the council hub. What this is it's a supply chain bonus. So there's a productivity bonus for the lumberjacks because of the supply chain bonus connecting them to the council hall. Okay, we want to wait until the sick are healed, and then the other thing I wanted to do is to build another home, because we have 4 homeless. So let's build another home here to house people that are working as fishermen. Thank you for tuning in to Darkswitch, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Radamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Radamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, fellow survivors.